Getaway day at Globe Life Field. What a great day for baseball as Kumar Rocker takes the mound. It's his home debut. He's admitted he's nervous. He's excited to show you what he's got. We're ready to talk all about that. And can the Rangers sweep the Blue Jays? It's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yes, the Rangers have a chance to pull out that broom and sweep the Toronto Blue Jays right out of town. It's been a great series. Two really different styles of games. One that the Rangers won. They outslugged them 13-8. And then last night, a 2-0 game that was a pitcher's duel. So much to talk about regarding Game 3 and even looking back at those two. But we welcome you into the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. Abby Jones here. Jeff Wilson is there. Yeah, he is at Globe Life Field. There's Jeff. And Jeff, it's always an exciting day when you get to see something you've never seen, which for Rangers fans, in this case, in person, they've never seen Kumar Rocker pitch.
Yeah, unless they've gone to Frisco or Round Rock, they haven't seen him. And it's exciting. When Max Scherzer made his Rangers debut last year after the trade, that was a big deal. It was a day game also against the White Sox, and he came out and he struggled a little bit. I think he gave up 3 runs. But Kumar, he told Abby yesterday and the media that he might be a little amped up, have some nerves today, pitching for at the home ballpark of the team that drafted him. And, he's grateful for what the Rangers did for him, taking him 3rd overall in 2022 when really he was kind of left hung out to dry by the Mets. So it's not lost on him. He's a very thoughtful young man and a really good pitcher. So 75 pitches, Bruce Bochy said today. So we'll see how far that gets him. Hopefully it gets him into the 5th. Maybe the 6th. We'll see how efficient he can be. But it should be a fun chance, whether Rocker pitches well or not, for Rangers fans.
Jeff, do you mean 85 pitches?
No, I mean 75.
He said 75 today. Yeah,
okay.
75 today.
Today. Kind of backtracked off the 85. And, they really want to keep him there for his next start, too. Same thing with DeGrom tomorrow. And in DeGrom's final start of the year, they're going to keep him at 60 pitches. They don't really see a need to stretch him out and do anything like seeing a lineup the 3rd time. This is still just getting them acclimated again to Major League pitching and getting an idea of what they need to work on in the offseason.
Yeah, and to your point, Jeff, about his personality and his poise, we got a firsthand taste of that yesterday as we had a chance to interview him. He's just a really composed and really nice kid, a great guy to talk to.
Oh yeah, he's got charisma. He's just got like a joy to him. His face just lights up when you're talking to him, and it's kind of rare to see. But we got the chance to talk to him about the home debut. Let's roll that sound now. Like Jeff mentioned, there's a little bit of nerves, but I think he can handle it.
100%. Being a home debut and a team that drafted you, took a chance on you, I think it's definitely going to be nerves. And you want to do the best for him, and you hopefully get a win out of it as well.
Yeah, they posed that question to him in the context of how unflappable and poised he seemed during his major league debut on the road, and wondering if he would even feel those nerves because, been there, done that in a way. But yeah, it's special. It's your home debut, and it's a very special day for him. His dad won't be able to leave the Titans this time, but his mom and his grandmother, he told us, will be in attendance today. So it should be a really fun day. But look, the reason he feels that way is there's pressure on this young man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's a few games left to be played, and it's important that Kumar Rocker gets these reps at the big league level. And you saw his outing. I asked him, how do you feel that your transition from minor leagues to major leagues has been? I used the word seamless, but he said, I don't really think it's been like that yet. I just have one start under my belt so far. I want to play a little bit more, get a few under my belt. But I mean, from what we've seen, it was one of the better debuts that I have seen as far as pitching.
It was a great debut, and I did not realize this, Jeff, but I was looking at some more notes about Kumar today, and perhaps in all of your exhaustive research and history that you have with him, you've discovered this previously. But this is not the first Prince, or Prince Fielder isn't the only Prince we've had on the team. Kumar translates in his native Hindi to Prince. He's a prince.
You know what? I just saw that in the media guide, it's pretty unique that he's the first pitcher with Indian roots to pitch in the major leagues. He mentioned that after his first start last week in Seattle. It's not lost on him. And when he signed, his grandparents were here, and they were dressed in traditional what would appear to be Hindi garb, and so it's definitely not far away from him, and so that's cool that he's in touch with his roots and things like that. It just seems like this guy's dialed into everything, and he isn't very verbose when he's meeting with the media. A couple sentences, that's all he needs, I guess, and that's fine. We appreciate his time, but I'm sure as he gets a little bit older and a little more comfortable, he'll expand on his answers, and maybe that happens today. Depending on how far he goes and how well he does, there might be some things to talk about beyond just getting the first jitters out of the way.
Yeah, and we talked to him yesterday about his slider, because his slider is, the one that really speaks to the most of his game. And somebody asked him, what do you call your slider? Is it a curveball? Is it a slider? And he said, I like to call it a curveball, but depending on the day, like, it can be a little bit of both. And somebody said, so it can do two different things. And he was like, pretty much. So, you have a pitcher that maybe, if you're looking at it textbook, has a few pitches in his arsenal, but really he can manipulate them so many different ways. And that's what makes him so special.
No doubt about it. I like Ben's thoughts about Rocker. First, right there, his prediction for what Kumar will do in the game today. And by the way, Ben, if that happens, I'm going to go ahead and win my sleeper bet on that deal, because I have a plus 4.5. 4.5 is the over-under on his strikeouts, and I am definitely taking the over. I'm thinking as you are, Ben. Ben also talked about maybe we see the Vandy boys today. Jeff, did Boach weigh in today on whether or not this might be a day for Jack Leiter to also get some work?
He did. I thought it might be tomorrow, just kind of keep the DeGrom Leiter piggyback together, but when I mentioned that, Bruce did say, yeah, it could be today, depending on how far 75 pitches takes Kumar. I think that, and also where the Rangers are in the game could dictate how the bullpen is used. If the Rangers have a lead, they might go to their guys who pitch with leads. Of course, they've pitched the previous 2 days, so that may look a little bit different today, but I anticipate that Leiter will pitch either today or tomorrow, and it's still important for him. I know there's all the attention on Rocker, but Leiter is still developing as well. And when he pitched in relief, Friday night in Seattle, he pitched really, really well.
Mm-hmm. And, you saw them at the field yesterday in the long toss. They were partners during that exercise. And, I talked to Kumar about it, and he said it's so nice to have somebody familiar and a former teammate and, to be at this level, share these experiences together. I also talked to Jack, because I didn't get to talk to him in Seattle, and just said, explain the mentality and the difference of coming out of the pen versus starting the game. And he said, it's a whole new ball game for me, but it's something that my dad did early in his career to help him down the road later as a starter. Obviously it's not the ideal position that Jack Leiter wants to be in coming out of the pen, but at this point, any reps are good reps. He said it's really teaching him a lot about mental toughness, staying locked in. There's tweaks in warming up, a fine line. You don't want to, put your body through too much because you might not play. But it's, it's just these little things that are going to help him down the long road and into his career further.
No doubt about it, and obviously it's not the ideal situation for Jack Leiter. It's not how he would have drawn it up, but it was much more common back in his dad's day and prior to that, where as you come in as a young guy and you sort of do what they tell you to do, that you do what they ask you to do, and he's wonderfully adaptable in that regard, in part because of the influence of his dad, and in part because that's just the way he was raised, and that's the kind of person he is. And but look, the Rangers hope and want him long term to be a starter, and they would love him to be paired, kind of back to back with,
like the 1-2 punch from college.
How about DeGrom and Rocker and then Leiter, something along those lines. And of course, we'd also love to see Nathan Eovaldi in that rotation. And what the heck, if we're spending someone else's money, why not Max Scherzer too, Jeff? Come on.
The Rangers are meeting this week and discussing their budgets. So that's the big one. I know. I think it was Chris who asked the question right off the bat. What's the payroll going to be for next year? I asked that question the other day of team president Neil Lehman. He's in the ownership group. He said, "Ask me Friday." So I don't know that I'll get an answer. I would suspect that it's going to be less than this year. This year, the Rangers operated with a club record payroll. They were over the luxury tax. They don't want to go over that second threshold. In theory, you're dropping. Scherzer's $22 million, Heaney's $13 million, Jose Leclerc $6 million, and then Robertson and Yates, I think they're making around 10 or 11 combined. So you're going to have some money coming off the books. And Eovaldi, technically, he's gonna be a free agent after he declines, as everybody expects, player option. So there's another 17. So I mean, right there, you're talking about $70 million coming off the payroll. So there might be some ways to finesse that, and Rocker and Leiter and Cody Bradford are part of that, because you can replace these starters at pennies on the dollar, because they're going to be making the league minimum. So there's going to be some work done. I think the Rangers will have the money to go get Eovaldi, or at least compete for him, and then kind of devote the rest to bullpen and maybe shore up a position or two.
Yeah, there's no doubt that that's the priority. We all heard CY Chris Young say that the other day. It's ironic, too. We know this. We know that Jacob deGrom and we know that Kumar Rocker will be around next year, right? Those guys are for sure going to be here. Interesting, too, Abs, that they've already pitched together at the minor league level.
Yeah, and, we talked to Kumar about this yesterday, just on the impact that rehabbing with Jacob deGrom will have on his game in the long run. And you see them sitting together. They were hanging out yesterday during the game, and just imagine picking Jacob deGrom's brain. Let's take a listen to what Kumar had to say about rehabbing with Jacob deGrom.
Him coming at the same time, being at the point of his career and the point of my career it was a treat for me, obviously for him. I know he wanted to get back out there, but being where I was in a Braves and getting to talk to him every day was huge.
Was there anything that you seriously learned from him?
Man, his calmness. He's a simple guy. That's as simple as it gets. And to see how dominant he is and knowing his personality a little bit better now, it's really impressive.
Boy, that's just a great lesson, right? That calm, right? You can't let things bother you. You can't let things escalate. And so many young pitchers do that. Obviously, Jacob deGrom doesn't, and now Kumar Rocker is on a path, right, to make sure that doesn't happen to him. Doesn't mean it never will.
Right.
But he's on that's a mindset, right? That's a mentality.
Right, and it's a choice too. And we're going to, test those waters a little bit today. In Rocker's debut in Seattle last Thursday, he allowed 1 run over 4 innings, struck out 7 of the 17 batters that he faced. And he got 13 whiffs on 21 swings. On the slider, there were 11 specifically, so looking for that slider to connect again today. But I'll tell you one thing. We got to talk about the Cody Bradford masterclass
Well,
from last
and there you go.
night.
You
My
talk about
goodness.
You talk about calm. You talk about poised. That response, Jeff, from the game that he had, and we know he was disappointed by the game he had in Arizona. And you know, if yesterday was a statement to say that's behind me now, it was a strong, loud statement.
Yeah, you know, when Cody hasn't had a great outing in his career, he has always bounced back. And so that tells you how coachable he is, how quickly he's able to adjust, maybe not in game, but between starts, whether it's his bullpen work or the video work that he does, the scouting report that Mike Maddox draws up and working with the catchers. Um, that's such a hard thing for young starters to do. And he finds a way to do it. You know, the Rangers always talk about how prepared he is, the work he does in between starts, getting ready for his next outing, and then the calmness that you mentioned and saw last night. I mean, you saw the calmness when he was getting knocked around in Arizona. He's unflappable out there, or at least that's what it appears. I'm sure he has some juices flowing, but you know, another reason to consider Cody Bradford for the rotation next year. I mean, it's really good. He you know, the Blue Jays have some tough right-handed hitters. They have one of the best in Vladimir Guerrero, and Cody really didn't have any problem with him. So yeah, I mean, you know, as you're evaluating guys, all, you know, Rocker and DeGrom and Leiter are getting all the attention, but don't lose track of Cody Bradford. It would be a surprise, frankly, if he wasn't in the rotation next year.
Yeah, and I think that Bruce Bochy probably starred this outing when you're considering, you know, 2025, because it just seems that there haven't been that many games that the Rangers starting pitchers have made it to 7 innings. I saw a stat today that we don't even have one starting pitcher that's, you know, lost my
Averaging.
yeah. So it's just like, you know, for him to be able to go 7, and then the 6 strikeouts too, that's huge for Cody Bradford, because he's not a 95-mile-an-hour fastball guy,
Not
or
even close.
heck,
Yeah.
even 97 or 93. I mean, his average is 90 miles an hour. For him to get 6 strikeouts, 3 came on the fastball. You know, that is really impressive. He retired 12 consecutive batters. So, you know, you felt like Cody Bradford was the most dialed in that you've seen him this season.
Well, and something even more impressive about those 12 in a row that he got, you know, so he takes a no-hitter, a perfect game into the 5th inning, and he did that on 35 pitches. In those 35 pitches, he threw only 6 balls, a statistic that he wasn't even aware of in post-game interviews. But the one thing I liked about the way Bruce Bochy responded to this outing, and you're right, he's going to star it because it was special, but Boch couldn't commit to that this was his best outing. He said, yeah, I think it is, but he's had some really good ones. And so, you know, Bruce Bochy and Mike Maddox and all the coaching staff look at these things a little bit different than we do. And so if Boch can put any of Cody's other starts in this category, that's fantastic for Cody's future, because Cody certainly looked great to us. I mean, it was pitcher's duel all the way, you know, because last night their pitcher was going great too, Francis. So it was a pitcher's duel, and it was fun that the Rangers not only won the game, but in this case won the pitcher's duel.
Yeah, and I found my stat about it because that was going to bug me. Pitchers with 30-plus starts this year, the Rangers have none. So I was just going to say, like, just the consistency that Cody Bradford does offer is huge.
And again,
to
it speaks a lot to health too.
Yeah,
they got to keep him healthy. But you know, Jeff, Cody is that guy. He's that you know, sort of the probably the duck a little bit, right? We're on top. He's not moving at all, but his feet are kind of going crazy underneath. But we've really seen that. We've seen that all season long from him.
Well, you mentioned the 12 straight outs to start the game. In the 5th, the Blue Jays opened with a single and a double, I think, and had runners at second and third with no outs, and they didn't score. It helped that they had Alejandro Kirk, their catcher, at third base, who I think I could beat in a foot race. And so he's not the fastest guy out there. So that helped. But for Cody to wiggle his way out of that, I mean, that was the ball game, really. So he kept them off the board. and then Adolis Garcia hit the 2-run homer in the next inning, or in the sixth. So that was a huge escape, and you can't do that if your wheels are spinning 100 miles an hour. You just have to go out and believe in what you've got, believe in your stuff, and plow ahead, try to limit the damage. Ideally, in that situation, you do what Cody did, but realistically, you're probably hoping you just give up one. So for him to post the goose egg is everything that you were just talking about, John. Whether it's the steady heart rate or not, he wasn't fazed by the situation he had been faced with.
Yeah, and his ability to not give those free passes is just unbelievable. It's one of the things that, pitching coaches across the board at every level will tell you. You don't give them a free base. Don't walk them. And Cody Bradford, through his last 12 starts, has 64 strikeouts and 9 walks. And, it's not many. You're not going to – he's not – Cliff Lee is not going to be a comp for Cody Bradford. However, the numbers are, because Cody has 64 and 9, and through his first 12, Cliff Lee had 70 and 9, and so Cody's second only to Cliff Lee, and they're the only two in Rangers history that have any sort of a stretch like that. And Jeff, you remember, as I do, Cliff Lee, when he got here, I mean, it was domination on the mound like we've never had seen, I think, since Nolan Ryan around here.
Well, when Cliff had power stuff, in that era, 95 was a power fastball, power off speed pitches, and he attacked. I mean, he wanted the ball back and he wanted to go. I mean, the pitch clock, he'd be perfect in the pitch clock era. But the Rangers really saw how good he was when the postseason came around. He wasn't pedestrian as a regular season starter, but his first start he lost. He gave up 6 runs in a complete game, but he wanted the ball. He didn't want to give it up. I mean, you can look at his start in the ALCS. I believe it was Game 3 at New York, maybe Game 3 or 4. It might be the best non-perfect game tossed by, or Nolan Ryan no-hitter tossed by a Rangers pitcher, considering the scenario. He gave up 2 hits in a complete game at Yankee Stadium, just absolutely dominated. But if you don't walk guys and you give up a home run, it's going to be a solo home run. You're not giving them free runners, and you can solo home runs aren't going to kill you. They're really not. It's those 2 and 3 run homers after a walk or two that do the damage. And Cody's got that, seems to have that pretty much under control. I guess, pun intended. And you're right. The only thing that he and Cliff Lee have in common is that they're left-handed. And it's just two different guys going about their craft 2 different ways, but it's effective what Cody does. And again, if you look at the rotation and all the possibilities and all the combinations for next year, it's really hard to not have Cody Bradford in it.
Yep, no doubt about it. It's really been fun to watch him, and fun to watch what he did, especially last night with only those 6 balls thrown in the first 35 pitches. To basically average less than 3 pitches per hitter through the first 12 is really almost unheard of.
And Adolis Garcia definitely saved him a little bit with that big catch.
No doubt about it. Adolis, between his defense and his offense last night, was just fantastic. And Adolis becomes just the second player since 2021 to have 70 or more home runs in one venue. He's at 70. Last night, he hit his 70th home run at Globe Life Field. The only other player that has 70 or more, he has a little bit more, Aaron Judge has 90 at Yankee Stadium. But, I mean, this is rarefied air, and we've talked a lot about Adolis and his struggles this year. But you know what? By the end of this whole thing, he's going to put together numbers that make you say, I'll take that.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah. And, I think watching him last night, he had so much swagger in 2023, and that comes with confidence, but he was kind of pimping his bat a little bit. And you just see a little vintage Adolis Garcia. The pressure's maybe off a little bit. Maybe he's a little more relaxed, can have more fun. But to me, I felt like I saw Adolis got his swagger back last night.
Well, and Jeff, that's what he did last year. And the nice thing about it is that when he gets that back, it does have an ancillary effect, right? It affects the other guys. They've talked about that, that they draw energy off of what Adolis does to celebrate and to just enjoy the game.
Yeah, the Reggie Jackson line, the straw that stirs the drink, comes to mind with Adolis. He's never going to hit 300. He's not going to do that. But his hits traditionally, since he's been in the major leagues, have come in clutch moments. He's been one of the Rangers' best clutch hitters, and he showed that in the postseason last year, just to kind of drive it home. And you do look at the home run and RBI totals. I mean, 80 RBIs. He's got 16 this month. He's only batting 196. So you still want to see a higher average, see him on base a little bit more. There was a lot of talk today about how he's trying to shorten his swing, be quicker on the fastball. It's going to be an off-season project for him, but he's already doing it now. The home run was a pull side homer on a fastball. He hasn't done that in a long time. A lot of his home runs are to the other field, and that's great too. But you gotta be able to turn on a fastball if it's a bad pitch and in the wrong spot and hit it hard. So that's going to be something he works on. I still think that there's a medical issue that the Rangers haven't disclosed with one of his knees. I think the right knee. You can see it when he's going for balls in the outfield. It's just not very steady. He's still trying to steal bases and whatnot, but it doesn't look good. So I think that there will be a couple things for Adolis this offseason physically, and then getting that swing to where it's quicker, maybe in the strike zone a little bit longer, so that he can turn on the inside heat. The Rangers have struggled as a team against fastballs for really the last 2 years. This year it's been really magnified because they haven't been scoring, and Adolis has been the one who has struggled the most. So if this guy can hit a fastball with the power that he has, and really, he's so strong and has so much power. He didn't kill that ball last night, but he was strong enough to get it over the fence. And if he can do that more consistently next year, whether it's a single or whether it's a double or a home run, the Rangers need that. And, it's hard to carry a 220 hitter in the middle of your lineup.
Yeah, one more topic we've got to get to is the bullpen, the back end of the bullpen. That stat you told me about when Robertson and Yates pitch in a game.
The Rangers are 60-15.
Wow. That's fantastic.
But those are two of just the best guys,
Yeah.
Like they are Mr. Reliable for the Rangers.
And Yates, by the way, who wasn't even signed to be the closer. Kirby Yates was not signed to be the closer here, and he has now 31 saves, and not since 2014 has a pitcher 37 years or older done that. And that pitcher in 2014 was another former Ranger. He was 39 at the time, Joe Nathan. He was with the Tigers at the time, but again, we were here for Joe Nathan. When you're in a category with him, especially when he was in the prime of his career, that wasn't. But when he was in the prime of his career, man, he was something to watch as a closer.
Yeah, Joe Nathan was really, really good. All right, he, you can look at the numbers and it tells you how good he was. And he had a 40 save season. He was an all-star, and really he was the guy he signed. He was coming off of Tommy John surgery, and the Rangers signed him to replace Neftali Feliz, who moved to the bullpen, or to the rotation. The signing was early November. I think, it was before Thanksgiving. It was like November 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, somewhere in there. And they got that one out of the way pretty soon. And he did everything that the Rangers wanted him to do. And really, you can look back across John Daniels' history, and even here with Chris Young, the Rangers don't spend a ton of money on bullpen guys. They went out on a little bit of a limb with David Robertson's contract this year. There's some deferred money in there, but it was a pretty hefty chunk for 1 year, $11 million. Yates was only 4.5, and they signed him pretty much the first week of free agency. So they saw something that they liked. He was coming off. This is his second full season after Tommy John. He did some work in the offseason, felt as good as he had coming into a season since 2019 when he saved 41 games, which I think led the majors. So this guy can do it, and he doesn't do it with big velocity or He does have the splitter is an unbelievable pitch for him, but what does it look like to retain Kirby Yates? I don't know why the Rangers wouldn't want to bring him back. If you can get him for 2 and 15, I think you do it. He's going to be 37 at some point next year, but gosh, his age 36 season has been really, really good. I think that you'd be willing to take that gamble.
Well, the Rangers are going for the sweep today against the Blue Jays, and they have won 8 of the last 11 starts from Kevin Gausman. He has a 3.2 ERA, and in that span has just allowed 6 homers. So you're hoping that the Rangers can play hard and have fun and get the sweep.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. We'll be back after the game with a post-game wrap-up. Jeff will join us from Globe Life Field after gathering some post-game sound and so forth. And we hope you'll enjoy the game, and we hope you'll be right back here after the game as we bring you the DLLS Rangers post-game podcast. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.